Thank you so much. What a strange honor to be speaking here tonight at Fuckup Nights in English. Had this been in Hebrew, you would witness a major fuck-up right now. So my name is Fruchter. I work at Powtoon. I'm the Chief Business Officer there. It's a local startup in the do-it-yourself video content creation space. I'm here tonight to tell you about a personal failure of mine, Naked Sea Salt, which was a social enterprise / e-commerce business that I set up with the goal of helping the Dead Sea and competing against the likes of Ahava and others. A quick show of hands. Who here has heard of the artist Spencer Tunick? Okay, about a quarter of the room. Let me share with you quickly a video that I made for a Kickstarter campaign that I used to launch this business.
Hi, I'm Fruchter. I'm on a mission to promote the world's highest quality and healthiest salt. Several years ago, I initiated an environmental art project called Naked Sea with the artist Spencer Tunick to help raise awareness to the Dead Sea. During the course of the project, I discovered a Palestinian salt field and a young entrepreneur at the edge of the Dead Sea, and became fascinated with the methods they were using for harvesting and preserving the sea's unique mineral content. I also met a dynamic foodie who understood the value of this salt and began to experiment by mixing it with top-quality natural spices. Together, we started developing a range of gourmet cooking and table salts. We developed over 20 different flavors that chefs love. Salt is an elemental force in culinary traditions, no matter where you live, where you're from.
I choose the black salt because it's very nice contrast to the food.
Salt in the Dead Sea forms naturally under the hot sun. In the desert climate, there's almost zero precipitation, just clean, dry air, and nature doing its work. No refinement, no chemicals, no additives. And it produces salt with the richest mineral content on Earth. 32 different minerals, including 21 like magnesium and potassium, which are uniquely concentrated in their crystals, all of whom are incredibly important to your body.
Naked Sea Salt.
I'll stop it here. Does this seem interesting so far? So let me tell you the story of why and how I started Naked Sea Salt. So it goes back to 2013 during a scuba diving trip in Eilat with a close personal friend of mine. We were both working in high tech and tired of the hustle and bustle of working for others, and we dreamed of starting our own business. We were very inspired by some of the local successes in Israel in the consumer product space. Companies like Ahava, Just for Carrots, and Moroccan Oil that were able to find something here locally and market and sell it around the world. And we thought, hey, we're lucky to be living in Israel, both of us being American. What can we find in Israel that's unique that we too could go ahead and sell to the world? Unlike those companies which work through retail chains, they go through distributors, we want to create our own e-commerce / e-brand business, avoiding retail distribution. And we decided, we reflected back upon an earlier project of mine that we're both involved with, which was at the Dead Sea back in 2011, when I decided to bring the artist Spencer Tunick to Israel. That project was one that I actually funded through Kickstarter. I'll share with you quickly what that campaign looked like. I was fortunate, to use Kickstarter in 2010. I was having difficulty, raising money for this project. Turns out that this was the biggest success in the art category in Kickstarter. I raised close to $117,000 in 60 days. I was able to bring Spencer Tunick to Israel. And on September 16, 2011, together with 1,200 people, we brought down to the Dead Sea. We succeeded in photographing them as part of a naked installation. That image from the project was seen by over 500 million people around the world and brought over $10 million in publicity to Israel. It also helped propel the Dead Sea to become one of the new seven wonders of nature. There's a big competition that was going on. It was also considered a success for freedom of speech in Israel against the religious parties in Knesset that tried to stop it. Although that was a very successful project, it actually failed in one major way. I was unable to inspire others that came down to get involved to help the Dead Sea. So we thought maybe there's an opportunity here to take the success that I already had at the Dead Sea, my passion and evangelism for the Dead Sea, and to continue that process by creating a social enterprise. From that idea, we started to start Naked Sea Salt. As you saw, it's a line of environmentally environmentally friendly table salts. We looked at all of the Dead Sea products out there, such as Ahava and others, that were successful in marketing and selling the Dead Sea to the world, but they're actually not connecting people back to the Dead Sea and the environmental issues that the Dead Sea was facing. So we thought as a social enterprise, our goal would be not just to sell products, but to actually educate people about what's happening to the Dead Sea, connecting them closer, and then giving back a percentage of our revenue to the Dead Sea through a partnership with the Arava Institute. So we're very fortunate. We felt that we had a great idea, a unique niche, passion and vision. Success was, clearly, straight ahead for us. So I actually launched it through another Kickstarter campaign, and we were successful. We basically raised $60,000 in 30 days. We had over 1,200 backers worldwide, and it became one of the leading campaigns in the food category. We were able to produce the salt quickly, ship it out to customers, and it felt perfect. This is great. We're going to launch our e-commerce site. We're going to be super successful. Unfortunately, that didn't work out the way we had planned. And basically, in order to launch this business on a shoestring budget, we ended up cutting many corners. Rather than developing the product ourselves, we found a company in Israel that had a similar idea. We decided to work with them, and they white labeled the product for us. We actually knew nothing about e-commerce, but figured we're building an e-brand, and I partnered with a local startup called Abe's Market. And Abe's was going to handle all our U.S. distribution, our e-commerce sales, listing on eBay and Amazon and others. We decided to invest all our resources in creating our Kickstarter campaign, along with PR and branding. We didn't think at first how to actually build the e-commerce site. By the time we actually finished it, it took us 60 days longer than we had wanted. One of the miscalculations we made was about salt. We figured if it was successful in Kickstarter, it's going to translate into real life and be very successful. Well, it turns out salt is a really crappy product to kind of ship and mail. It's heavy, so the costs of shipping are high, even though our margins were quite high. But people don't reorder salt regularly. It's something which is quite novel, they hold on to it, which ended up giving us a very low lifetime value of the customer, and our customer acquisition costs ended up being very high. To make matters even worse, Abe's Market, who was our supplier, actually who was our distributor, ended up going out of business, which made it difficult for us to continue the e-commerce sales on our own. And our Israeli supplier became jealous of our success and started reneging on a lot of the written commitments that we had. So I basically had to go ahead and take a deep breath and look at the mirror to see what the future is going to be for this company. In the year and a half that I was doing it, I was successful in selling about $150,000 in product, which is not a bad feat. But I realized that the future didn't look so good. I've been out of high tech now for 2 years and thought, you know what, let me kind of put on hold for now. So I decided to basically return the remaining capital to my partners and to pursue to go back to the high tech world. So anyway, let me tell you the message of tonight and why I shared the story. When you create a business, it's super important to be passionate. Vision is is critical, but you also have to look at your life and look at the work-life balance that you have. I always say, if I was 20 years younger, living in my parents' basement, this would have been an incredible business. I would have figured everything out along the way. But at 40 years old, raising 2 kids in Israel, I decided it was time for me to go back to high tech, and I decided to close the business. This was my second attempt at doing something monumental connected to the Dead Sea. Who knows, there may be another chapter 3 for me later on in life. Thank you, everyone.
Beautiful story, beautiful message. Do we have any questions? You can stand up and yell out, and we'll repeat them.
Can you repeat it?
Do we have any questions? All right.
No questions? Seriously?
I've got a question. Who did you find it most difficult to tell about your failure? Who was most difficult to share it with?
I don't think it was a question of sharing. I think it was a question of, myself. Admitting to myself that, what, I've given a lot of time. There is success there, but it's really not successful. Because you always feel as an entrepreneur, next week, there's always something else that could happen. That can, that success could be around the corner. And here I really have to make decisions saying that may be the case, but I can't afford to take that risk any further. So I decided to put it on pause.
Thank you. There's a question up the front.
By the way, this is the image that we shot at the Dead Sea that was bought by the Jewish Museum in New York and made media headlines everywhere.
All right, question up the front here.
The Dead Sea is known as a cure for skin problems. Did you try to market to around the world to collect all skin problems to try to bring them to Israel to the Dead Sea?
Alright, I'll just repeat the question. The question was if the Dead Sea is known for helping skin problems, did you try and market this to healthcare providers around the world?
So one of the reasons that I really care about the Dead Sea, I feel that it's a very unique body of water that offers a remedy for people all over the world, not just the Jordanians, Israelis, and the Palestinians. We're caretakers for that. People that have skin ailments, psoriasis, they really depend upon it. And I hope one day we're going to solve this so more and more people like that can have access to it. But the way things look today, the future is quite bleak.
What do you think was the factors that made your Kickstarter campaign so successful? And what I didn't understand which was the relation with the artist.
Okay, so the two-part question. One, what made your Kickstarter campaign so successful? And can you explain a bit more about your relationship with the artist?
So Spencer Tunick is an artist that I go back to, I guess 1992 in New York. And in a previous career, I was a fashion designer. And he had photographed me for a feature on my business. We became close friends. I understood back then his connection to Israel and his desire to do something monumental in Israel. I found myself back in 2007 living in Israel, involved in the arts. And I called Spencer. I said, Spencer, I'm back in Israel. I'm involved with the Tel Aviv Museum of Art. Would you like to do a project in Israel? He said, absolutely, but it's really difficult. If you're willing to take on that responsibility and risk yourself, I'm all for it. So I thought I would just take a famous artist, connect him to an institution, and sit in the background and enjoy the success of that, having to actually invest in it. It's turned out to be a lot different. And we tried every source possible to raise money. I was fortunate to meet David Broza back in 2010. He had actually used Kickstarter to fundraise for a Spanish music album that he had created. And he said, if I'm able to do it, Spencer Tunick is much more famous than me, he could definitely do it. So I think the success about it was we were a pioneer in the art category. No high-profile artist had done something like this before. Spencer also is an artist that works with tens and hundreds of thousands of people worldwide, has a very, very big email list. And we got tremendous publicity. So all these things just worked in our favor. And it was a very good campaign. People got amazing rewards.
All right, we will wrap it up there. Please give it up for Ari.